Hey guys, just want to do a brief reminder of something just having to do with if it's not medicinal. I don't want to say medicine as if it's an object, but if it's not medicinal, it doesn't have that quality of holistically implying one's optimacy, like the naturally curated sense of well-being, where it's blooming. It has the ability to bloom. That is our natural way of being. It's not some wooey, like so many of us look at, like, oh, health, like looking at someone like, oh wow, it's such a compliment to be glowing and well and just like emanating. Like, that's how we all are. You're literally born perfect. You're born the way you're supposed to be, and the way you're supposed to be is optimal. The best way being designed in the way in which you are, and are intended to be. That is the closest thing to perfection. Perfection literally means, try Googling it even, the closest to the best quality something can be. We are always that. There's no moment that you're not that. If existence, whatever that is even supposed to mean, as some external example, intended anything otherwise, you wouldn't even exist at all. If one component, one aspect of you was not um, eternally present, you would not be anything whatsoever. You're always enough. You're always great. Not only okay, you're great as you are. Because remember, it's the process. It's not about the states of being that one can achieve and the things that we can gain, um, or anything else. Like any other example, it doesn't really matter what example you give. It's not about adding. It's about actually the whole going within thing is the main medicine, right? Because it's not being enticed by what seems to be temporarily convenient, aka what most poisons end up being is temporarily convenient. It doesn't even alleviate, but it therapeutically avoids an effect, whatever it is in our life that we're seeking not to experience for a short amount of a time. Just like how some people can chase money and then it alleviates having to be concerned with this thing or that thing in their life, this component, that component. I'm not really a family person, so I'll make a bunch of money, and you know, and money's supposed to be successful, so I even have an excuse to be continually making it, or whatever else. That's not my example, but just a lot of us create these excuses, which end up being narratives in our lives where we actually seek something that is not a poison, like an objective example, but rather a quality as an objective example, and we live our lives justifying that example. So we have seemingly in our own experience no reason to be medicinal again because we're convincing ourselves the poison is the medicine. This thing, well, it's giving me this, it's giving me this, it's giving me this. Well, adding things in your life is not always a good thing. If I go, here, you want my anger? Have all of it. You want my anxiety? You want my depression? You want my grievance? You know what I mean? You want my depression? Like, just you want anything that I don't want? Probably not, you know, in essence. And having more isn't always better. And that's a lot of where we go wrong. And that is the very desire to have more. Why? Because you just assume that it's going to make you in a better position. You know what the best position is to be in? A superposition, which is the neutral position, because it's a positionality in which you can decide as seemingly the one that has a body, has a mind, has, an intellect and emotions and stuff. You can actually choose which way that dynamically guides toward. And a lot of us are looking for something to be the deciding factor for us, whether it's the liquor, it's the money, it's the house, the cars, the women, the guys, the social influence, or I got the body, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the handyman, people value me to use me, or like what, just like whatever it is, you know. Like the big ones, people trying to be jack of all trades. Like I'm, you know what I mean? Like I can be used essentially, by people around me. Therefore, I'm valuable. I have money. Therefore, I'm valuable. I have a spouse, so clearly, therefore, I'm valuable. You know what I mean? We're all trying to, in some way or another, attend to the void and not appreciate it. But how is not appreciating something attending it? We're all living our lives in this kind of absence more than anything of attention. Not intention, attention. You're at tension. Because a lot of us have this presumption that living with that intensity, the literal inner tension, is a bad thing. It's not. It's the feeling, it's the notion that life is even going on in the first place, that you're having an experience at all. And none of us really want to actually remain in a static state ever, no matter what that implies. It's not, I don't want to be happy all the time. I don't want to be sad all the time. I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be anything specific all the time. What we crave most is what is already happening, but you only crave it, per se, when you're unaware that that's actually the matter of the fact already. You know, like if I'm unaware the wind is blowing and I'm super, super hot, I'm going to just crave more. Like, or if you're unaware something is out there, I more mean, you're going to just like, you're going to act as if you want more of that, right? You want more of it eternally because you want more of it right now, because it's not present in your awareness right now. So whether it be money, fame, which fame can manifest in so many ways, you just want to be popular and familiarized and whatever kind of notoriety. Or whether it's having all these resources or people that, believe and assume that you have some exaggerated sense of importance, because that's ultimately what we want when we want to feel important. We not only want to feel important, we want to feel exaggeratively important, you know. Like look at toxic relationships in general. Like, oh well, as an example, I want to break up this person, but they have such qualities that I don't actually bother embracing in myself, therefore don't get developed and they don't get integrated. And they're not a harmonious, whenever I need them showing up kind of part of my life. So I'm gonna stick with the person who, ceases me to have to show up in those ways. Um, and it's the same way when it goes for money or thinking, materialism, having a Marxist mind, whatever it is. Like, it's easy to get wrapped up in that bubble of like, well, this provides a certain quality for me, so I don't actually have to show up for the ways for whatever ways it might represent as for myself. Convenience is a band-aid, which ends up maybe being your poison, because the medicine is understanding just how much you didn't really need. It's essentially realizing wounds heal best when the oxygen is let get to them, right? Which means not putting on a band-aid, which means living a fresh life, which means being constantly exposed, not in the way of like, oh, this feels like punishment because you're looking for, you know what I mean? You're looking for some kind of like intentional push forward in life. No, but like the harmonious flux that being exposed to everything that life has to offer means. Because the moment you start huddling up in this little cave in your mind of like, good and bad and, this is worth embracing and that's not. This should be part of my life and that shouldn't be. These people are bad. These people are good. This religion's useful. That one's not. You know what I mean? Like the moment you start compartmentalizing what is what, you're not living in accordance to truth or anything that could possibly mean. You're living in accordance with what is preferable and convenient for you, which ends up being often the anti-medicine. I wouldn't say poison, but anti-medicine. It undoes the health and wellness, the optimacy of the being in the self, right? Of the actual vessel in the self. They're not two different things, but like it diminishes both ends of that ladder, that bridging system. And so if essentially, again, just to reflect very simply, if it's not medicinal, chances are it will end up being venomous. It will end up being poisonous and self-diminutive. We're not looking for this. None of us are. But we start thinking it is. And when you don't live a life that has a true trajectory, a true beckoning call, an alignment beyond one's fathoming and comprehension that you actually you decide to allow and honor, you will inevitably, to some measure or another, within some dynamic or another, however it shows up, you will end up chasing these illusory event horizons, thinking that the next hoorah or the next, just release or something like this is where sex addiction or any addiction really comes from. You're looking for a release from the very thing that you bind yourself up with. How is that ever a game you're going to win? Especially when you lose, then it's extra shameful, right? So, and by shameful, I really mean like we look at ourselves and go, wow, how stupid what's that? Because emotions aside, we know that really was dumb. And a lot of us are living our life this way. We want something else to achieve what is already always there, but we're plastering something over so it can't really breathe and exfoliate and live freshly and be obviously shown in our life as, which is our well-being. Like were you born with a drinking addiction? Were you born with a sex addiction? Were you born with being caught in visual fantasies? Were you born seeking certain emotional states or mental flows or whatever it is? Like were you born a materialist? Were you born a racist? Were you born anything that has a particular preference in life? No, you were not. But this preference ends up being the poison. And the medicine ends up being that kind of maternal, all-embracing, just kind of omnipresence. There's nothing you don't experience as you. And therefore, when you stop seeing this separate thing as like a tool to get me from here to there and avoid this or, get me over this hump, this hill, do the work for me, I don't have to show up in this way or whatever it is, it makes me feel this way. So again, it's like an avoidance thing. So I don't have to feel this way. Then you really embrace all of that and you realize in the process of that, not the anticipation, the process, that there was nothing ever wrong with it in the first place. It was always okay. Do I know why it's okay? There's no reason you need to give. You need a reason for finding why it's not okay. You need a reason to, just like love, you don't need a reason to love. It's not an emotion, that's an ambiance, right? So you don't need a reason to promote an ambiance. You naturally do, but you need a reason to stop doing something. Life is energy, it's verve, it's on the go, it's animated, so you need a reason to get in the way of that. And a lot of us are actually getting in the way by being hyperproductive in some way or another, which the hyperproductivity is always a byproduct, actually, of insecurity. And a lot of us even have a negative connotation to insecurity, where we go like, well, I ought not to be insecure. I ought not to, desire whatever. I ought to do the right thing. Like even those impositions are born of resistance. And the more resistance to the natural impetus, the natural drive of life, that verve and animation, the more natural inclination you will have toward trying to avert it, trying to lead yourself astray away from it, from the wolf in the woods, instead of actually befriending it or just finding, times of day you can work with each other, you know what I mean? Like work around each other. Like that part of yourself, that gnawing part of yourself that you think is unbearable. Because that's what it gets to, is you think it's unbearable, but because you're never really in the process of directly and primally and intimately engaging whatever aspect quality is within yourself, and therefore you're looking to avert the gaze of the beast, kind of thing, when you realize, wow, the beast actually just was incredibly alone and therefore was, savage and looking to defend itself, because that aspect of myself felt very isolated and pent up and blah blah blah. But like the moment you really allow that presence to emanate and affluently kind of guide the attention, the attention, because that is the kind of what we call something like the animus, the animal, creature part of ourself. And the more we allow that expression to come through, it reminds me of it's a botched quote, but it's generally denoting we don't try to, shut the savage away or turn it off. We actually yield it, because what you yield, you wield. And that's ultimately what that unbearable aspect of self wants, is it wants to be applicable, wants to be valued in some way or another. It wants to be an offering unto itself and everything around it, everyone. And the more we seek to dim our gifts, our self-oriented offerings, whatever our abilities are, our inherent gifts of such, we're going to have that much less to offer. We're going to have that much less to see in ourselves. And that's where the self-diminishing behavior comes from. Is, well, I'm already on this path, and then we can maybe not stop seeing so much of a path forward, and then we get invested upon paths of subsequent self-destruction, and seeing less and less of ourselves as a worthwhile, let alone potential, and expansively potential offering to those around us. So, if it's not medicinal, if it's not bringing me closer to that equilibrium, and that like self effervescence, where like, ah, yes, you know, and you're really exfoliating whatever it is that it means to be you as an experience. Um, you can then, it's in those states, in that acceptance and that willingness, that you can very clearly see when and how and where and etc. that you're closing the door on yourself, and not even offering a window for escape, you know. And so then the mindsets of like, well, I need this to cope, and this to be who I really am. When I drink, I'm more me, um, when I have sex, I'm more let loose. You know what I mean? Like, we're looking for those releases. Meanwhile, we forget we're hanging ourselves all the time, in some measure or another. I mean, not everybody. There is a few beings around that really delineate and show the way toward like what it really means to emanate the self-expression. But most of us are still fairly lost in the way of thinking that we ought to be found, that we need something to be found. We need something to really be what and who we are, to perform at our top tier. No. Do you know what you really need? You need what you really want. What you really want is to be everything that you are and always should have been. Because that's ultimately always the regret. Is that, I would look at people on their deathbeds. What is your main concern? That I cared too much about what people thought. I cared too much about circumstances being the deciding factor in my life one way or another. And so when you stop investing so much in the periphery of life, the kind of outside, seemingly looking in, the window shopping experience, you can directly experience whatever it is that you would have been window shopping for to begin with. You don't just like dangle the Twinkie in front of your face. You just have it and go, okay, all right, yeah, that was really cool, but that wasn't like the thing, and it wasn't the thing in terms of either way of the spectrum. It wasn't like the ultimate, and it wasn't the low bar. It can constantly go either way, because everything is in superposition all the time. It's just our mindsets that get stuck in otherwise. I have this mindset, so then what? So then this set of possibilities is opportune for you. It's aligned for you. It's a potentialized trajectory, and when that's the case, no other is, because you think truly, because you fail to be attentive, to the other opportunities. You think those limitations are exactly for you, and that is exactly where the poisonous just trajectory in life in general comes from. Well, this is what is possible for me, so I live between bottom bar and high bar. Like I live between here and there, and the human experience is naturally that we're always looking to, I don't even want to say expand or dissolve or anything, but we're constantly looking to pass the event horizon, so to speak, to be boundless, to experience something that has no hinges, um, to be a doorway without a door or hinges. But, because we're human, just enough to have a door and a hinge, but, otherwise boundless enough to go, to be, to be constantly in adventure, to be constantly in like, holy, this is actually an experience. Like, I didn't even think this was possible, yet here I am. Holy fuck. Like, this is magic. And it's just like one of them typical revelations where we go like, remember, you're like on a rock spinning through space at like 16,000 miles an hour and stuff like that. Like, it's not, when you get up in the morning, you're just like, here I am in my house looking at trees and the road and people walking. Like, you know what I mean? So it really is all about how you kind of hindsight reflect, but hindsight reflect your life all the way along. Because if you're not in tune with the way your experience is actually unfolding, which is really kind of, to put it bluntly, like an existentialist way of experiencing things, like the direct primal immediacy of your presence, then it's so easy, simply put, to be mistaken upon how things appear to be, how things appear in the illusion of the light receptors in your eyes, the audited stories in our amygdala and inside our mind. Like, there's, if I just stop speaking right now and I think, that story is just as loud to me as the words I'm saying now. So I like the simple little quote I heard from a gaming community like years ago. It's like, go touch grass, because it essentially it reforms the example of, you can get caught up in such fantasies of how reality presumes itself to be in your little mental complexes, um, that you can actually fail to simply experience things the way they are. And that is ultimately what you're seeking all the time. It's not really the great answer, the great question, the ultimate, like as if there's some, just grand expanse that once I experience that, there's no point in experiencing anything else because I'm at the top. You know what I mean? Like there is none of those experiences. You can experience them as that, but that is not true. Just like it's like an endless elevator. You get to the floor and you realize, oh well, floor 100 wasn't the top. There's a 101, and then this is actually, if anything, in my experience, it's just the beginning. Because if it's not the end, in the dualistic way of looking at things, it's just the beginning, right? Because you're constantly taking yet another step, yet another step, yet another step. So it's all part of the process. And the moment you think whatever thing is going to take care of the process, because this is where that addictive behavior comes from. If I think something is going to just take care of the process, then why bother engaging dynamically and directly with life to begin with? There's no point. Because all of that is logical, just logical mentality. I'm trying to get A to B, when life is not about that. Life is about appreciating that all of that is there. A to B, B to C, C to D, E to E, whatever. Like it doesn't matter where you go, how far you get, the things you achieve, whatever you identify as, all that's well and good. It's all there always. But what does it mean to me? Why does it mean that to me? And what am I unaware of? What can mean something to me in the light of truth? I mean, like in a true experience. You know what I mean? And these aren't worded questions, but they should be existential inquisitions where it's like, how else can I experience life? Because that is truth. No amount of, believing the gospel, hearing the word, practicing the rituals, doing the seances. Like none of this is going to just bring some primordial ultimate truth to your present experience. You know what I mean? Like they're all angles of the same God ray in its essence. So as long as you're seeking something in particular, know that it's not medicine. It's not medicinal. It's something that's going to kind of repetitiously put something to the side for a moment, few moments, long moment, doesn't matter. Eventually, life will come back with an intensity that reminds you of how it all really is and was. And you're probably also going to have much less tools and attentive coordination and resilience to actually, perseverance to deal with life the way it really is because of this, looking for a convenience, a preferential way of living and experiencing life without its holistic dynamicism, like it's everything the way it really is. Like if you're looking for just like a comfy, cozy way to live, just lay in a grave the rest of your life because that's essentially what you're doing. You make it look like certain things, make it look like a car, a house, great furniture, tasty food, all this stuff. Like you're just swathing the mind and body and emotional system and taking advantage of it all, but you're not ultimately allowing, and I don't even want to say providing, but allowing the health and wellness, the optimacy of the wellspring of self to come forth and really bring forth a true emanating and unbelievable experience of what it is to be alive. And that is an all the time thing, just like how being sober is actually the most intoxicative experience that is possible because you have access simultaneously and in an equalized way, meaning like no matter what your approach or direction is or aim is in life, you have an equal level of receptivity and non-resistance to whatever those experiences might mean to you and might be sensed as. You have an equal potential to reap and sow life for exactly what it is and all it can be experienced as. But when you're medicated by whatever preferential or convenient way of living is, your senses are dampened. Your alertness is dampened. Everything that really could mean anything to you fundamentally and existentially and very intimately is dampened. So if it's not exfoliating, if it's not providing an equilibrium, like in a very effervescent way, like a really like wow, breathe deeper than I ever thought I could, go farther than I ever thought go farther than I can see, you know, just in a more intense that I could have fathomed and comprehended kind of way. Yet there's a never absent grace about it all, because that's how life operates, existence in general. Then question why it's happening. Why am I, taking this medication? Why do I need glasses? You know, why am I going to my 9 to 5 that I can't stand? Whatever seems to be working in some or a few different kinds of convenient ways for me, but I ultimately cannot fucking stand if you took the object of my reward system seeking self out of that. Like, if that wasn't the case, what else would I be doing with my time? Like, if I could pay you nothing at all, if I had nothing to offer you, and what would you do with your life? What would you like? How would you be? How would you carry yourself? How like what aim would you have in life? What aspiration? I don't even want to say ambition, but what aspiration? What inspires you? And again, not objectively. What's that inward compass, that burning candle within, and where does the flame flicker and lean toward? I say this because there's so many ways to put it, and not enough of us even really veer down one avenue of that entirely, of just inquisiting within the self, of like curiously and innocently interrogating the self and going like, why does this occur this way? Why am I this way? Because whatever way that we're doing is a way that we're seeking. The doing is the seeking. If there was no seeking, there would be no doing. So what's being sought? Why is it being sought? And why am I even concerned about it enough to begin seeking it in the first place? If it's not curiosity, it's simply killing you. And no amount of entertainment and swathing yourself and, convening with a preferential way of approaching life will ever dampen you enough to not be just diminished and disappointed within your soul. So I really do implore you, beg you to kind of like really, really see, I don't want to say internally or within, but really seek in general, beyond any direction, aim, objective, anything. Seek beyond all of that. What is before all of it? Just like the word presence, presense. What is before what seems to arise as something that appears to be a way? And you will know truth. And this is why truth, whatever that may be, meaning just, because when I say truth, I subsequently, I also mean whatever is most important to us, because that is what we seek. Because even if I seek the good life or something, I'm ultimately seeking what is true about that. Like, what does it really have to offer as just an inquisitively emanating quality? Like a curiously sparkling aspect to it. Like what about that is really something? Because a lot of us are chasing, hopes, dreams, states, etc. Again, assuming that that's going to solve some issue that we have within, that we fail to simply be a company to. Like, if you were your own best friend, none of this would be the case. So if you're not your own best friend, if you're not simply your own friend, your own company keeper, so to speak, and equalizer, what are you? If you're not allowing the beingness of a kind of medicinality, the nature of being a medicine, or more medicinal, then you are bound to take the direction of being just something that taints yourself. And I wouldn't wish this for anybody. I wouldn't wish it for myself. Just like how you wouldn't hurt your best friend. You wouldn't say words on purposely that would hurt that would damage or taint the emotions in some way or another. You wouldn't say you wouldn't lead them off a cliff's edge. You know what I mean? But we do all of this with ourselves. So a really good way of seeing just who you are in the light of everything all the time is to actually see yourself as the other, to sense yourself as the other. And this is the basis of compassion. And this is kind of what not steers us the right way, but stops steering us the wrong way, and therefore what's left is the right way, is the correct and more accurately appropriate and health oriented way, you know? Um, just like when you stop doing the wrong things, you subsequently, you by nature, you're inherently doing the right thing. When you stop doing the wrong things, when you stop failing, you start succeeding. It's the same thing, right? Because in this world, duality is such a strong presence, you stop doing this, you start doing that. You stop seeking this, you start seeking that. And so when you stop being passionate, burned up in the moment about certain things, and thinking, the temporary feeling somehow presumes an eternal, um, an eternally emanating quality, then you naturally seek, okay, but what is eternal? Like, what really is, in its quality, unchanging and always worthwhile, always valuable, and that will always be found within the self. It will never be found, like you can wear the neck gaitered, fine, quilted shirts, and you can have the finite materialistic life. You can have all the things that are supposed to matter, supposed to mean something, supposed to hold some kind of traditional, cultural, societal value. And at the same time, within the deepest aspect of self and the core essence of everything that you are, you will always know, this didn't really matter to me. It was a nice thing to try on and go, ah, wow, cool experience. At the same time, no, this is not like my dying wish. This is not the thing. Like, if someone asked me, what do I want my life to be, I would not coordinate my words to say this. Like, for example, when someone asks me, like, what, like if I'd like try to contemplate myself the best life possible, just in taking out any specific words to frame things a certain way, like this, the best life that I could possibly contemplate in general possible would be a life beyond what I can dream, beyond what my emotions can capacitate. Because there simply is life, to get to it. Like, there simply is life. There is experience. And how much of it and in which ways did you capture it? How was it captured? How was it like, this happened within me and holy fucking shit, you know? Because a lot of us are living our lives just trying to like go around the butterfly net and just catch like, dots and minuscule handfuls and blah, blah, blah of this and that. And, over time I proclaim that's a huge abundance, because we have this narrow-minded kind of approach to life. And so no matter how much you do catch in increments, you'll never get to infinity by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By 10 times 10, a million by a million, a billion by a billion. It doesn't matter. No matter what increment you go by, you will never, never have, not even get to, like, you'll never have the experience that you wish to have. And the experience, ironically, that you wish to have is the one that you're having now, because the one that you're having now is actually a surprise to your mind. The very fact that there's so much going on in the world, and most of us actually, if we're really completely sober, by all means that can mean, would almost say that we can't bear it. And yet, how many of us go like, I'm bored in life. This isn't enough. I don't have enough money. My emotions aren't blown out of the water enough. You know what I mean? Like, where's this ecstasy and bliss at? Where are the plant ceremonies? You know what I mean? The plant medicine ceremonies. Like, where are the expensive cars? Like, how many women or guys can I get with or use for money or status or sense of security or something? You know what I mean? Like, how much can I like attain of blah 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 that's available in life? Instead of even sitting with first the factor that it's actually over fucking whelming 24/7. Because it was actually overwhelming 24/7. From there on, it actually is just a matter of like, how do I engage with this and appropriate it within my experience? Like, how do I handle my human, and not narrate or I would say like framework, like frame or compose. Like, how do you frame and compose the emotions and how they flow? And oh, I have this big, huge decision to make. Like, how do you kind of maybe break that down and systematically endeavor that situation to be, like, how do you handle the system? Because like, there's no system out there, there's the human system. Just like everything you perceive out there in whatever categorized and compartmentalized way that you see it is your own mind, is the way your own mind works. If you had no mind, there'd be no system that would ever be comprehensible. There'd be no way that anything works because you wouldn't be comprehending that. So it's all about how you handle your own human. And most of us are actually trying to take the handle way too much and not really just be with the experience that we're truly having, because only when you're with the experience that you're truly having and seeing things and feeling them, etc., the way they really are, you know what buttons to press, when, how often. Do I press the J key 9 times? Do I not touch anything? Do I hit escape? You know what I mean? Like, only then do you know really how to use the keyboard, by knowing when, where, how, etc., right? Like, the way is much less about what and much more about how. It's at least half all of the time, right? Just like how no emotion is correct, no seeking of a certain material is correct. By correct, I really just mean appropriate. Like, it's not balancing, it's not harmonizing the sense of equilibrium within the self. So a lot of us are seeking this. I don't want to say overabundance. It's a decadence. It's a putrid opulence. Like, it's simply too much. And then when we get too much, then we forget that there's actually equal levels of responsibility that go with that, and then it actually becomes miserable because we're not built for that level of responsibility. The only thing that you're responsible for is yourself, and if you don't first take accountability for that, then you will never be responsible enough, aka have the integrity to be responsible enough to handle anything beyond what you perceive as what is going on now. So this is why being your own medicine is first and foremost the best case possible all the time, let alone it just objectively speaking in life. Like, if it's not the plant medicine and I'm just taking, like, ibuprofen, whatever other crazy medications like SSRIs, and I take this for bipolar and blah blah blah, or I wear glasses instead of have a shitty diet instead of, like, eating all the having all these vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and stuff, so we don't need these glasses. Like, there's so many, like, other end of the spectrum, dualistically speaking, kind of examples to give. So even if you're going that route, seek the medicine. Like, if you don't have health and wellness to begin with, you don't have any kind of exploitation of a worthwhile experience, which is always what's at hand. You don't really want anything else. Just like the people I know that have the most amount of money, the most amount of cars, women, men, basically in their mind, resources, honestly, are the people that have the most absent sense of receptivity for all of that. And so how great is your life? And even look at the words. When your life is great, what is the greatest thing about that? That you're grateful. No one lived a great life without being grateful. Because live that life without being grateful, you don't even know what's going on for what's going on. You just see objectively these things happening, but there's no real systematic evaluation within the self going like, wow, these are gifts, these are offerings, these are bearings of my life that, like. And also realize everything happens once. The moment it happens, it never happens at least the same way ever again. So whatever you're experiencing, that is the only moment you will ever experience that experience in that way, those ways, whatever. So when you are absent in those moments, you're absent always in some way the greatest moments of your life, because you will never have those moments again. The person you kissed, the wine you shared, the work you did, the projects you endeavored so much soul and spirit and grit and sleepless nights on, and achieved the next day or whatever. Like, whatever it is that you're devoting yourself to, that is the beauty of life. And it's ever dynamic. It never happens the same way. You can have the same aim your whole life, but how that manifests and represents itself will always be different. And so appreciate every step along the way, every heartbeat, every breath. I mean, because one moment missed, it's like your whole life, no matter how long you perceive that to be. It's one moment. You miss that moment. You miss life. Not your life, the other person's life. Life, which includes every experience, every potential to experience. You're missing that proportion of that. You will never have it again. Don't mistake that. You'll never have it again. And you won't even have it in your memory because you weren't really there to integrate that into the cells of the embodied self. Like, If I'm absent for my daughter's birthday, okay, well, is that even in the memory bank of my human system to like bring up later to recall and go, oh, at least I have it in my memory? And you don't even have that. So you miss a moment, you completely fucking miss it. It's not like I kind of missed it. You missed it all the way. If you don't have it as like a sensed, like a synesthetic sense representation, like when you bring up a memory, you can feel like there's a general way your whole body feels, and even different parts of your body feel different kinds of ways. Like I remember this memory, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's ecstasy, there's gratitude, happiness, grievance, like there's all of the stuff that is exactly why to be thankful. It's like there's all these experiences which we are not doing. Are you breathing your breath? Are you blinking your eyes? Are you saying the words? Are you growing your hair? Are you exfoliating your skin cells? You know what I mean? Like, are you creating the dandruff? Are you growing your toenails? Are you taking the walk? No, you can actually stop doing this, and all of this will it will be an experience to begin with. Like it's already happening all the time anyway. And so this is a great way to kind of reflect along the way, no matter what we go through in life. Um, no matter how challenging it is, no matter what it brings about in us, be thankful ultimately that it's bringing that about you in the first place. Like, oh, it brought about such anger in me. Oh, it brought out like this need to conquer and triumph. Or I'm bringing general experiences up that we try not to almost particularly bring up, right? It brought up such grievance and bitterness and jealousy and envy. And it's like, be thankful. All of that is showing you something about yourself, and it's actually mirroring a blinded aspect to yourself that you actually look up to. It shows how you're holding that back from yourself. Like if something's making you angry, it shows where you kind of need to like stop engaging with so much and kind of not really draw a line, but go, enough is enough. Like there's enough of whatever inherent quality happening. I don't need to directly engage with this so much anymore. I don't need to invest in it. I mean, because if it's making you angry, the problem was investment to begin with. You're overflowing the cup and going like, just keep fucking pouring. How is anybody else the enemy when you're the one, when you realize you're the one pouring? Or it goes the same way really for anything. Like if it's too much, stop adding. If it's not enough, stop diminishing. Stop trying to like rectify and dilute and dissolve whatever quality in your life. Like if you're depressed, probably the last thing you need is to keep making yourself sorry, I got a dry throat. Probably the last thing you need is to keep making yourself sad or to look at life in diminishing ways. If you're angry, probably the last thing you need is motivation, you know, or some kind of like conflagrant, meaning like a blown up way to like just get up and act and get something done and push forward and like that's probably the last thing you need. Um, and if you're happy, probably if you're happy, what are you bothered about? Probably the last thing you need is more happiness. Like you're happy, you're happy. If you're blessed, you're blessed. Like you don't need more of the quality. You also don't need less. So in our life, it simply is enough is enough. Literally, I don't mean as like some kind of like scoffing statement. Like enough is enough. Like you literally are enough and you have enough all the time. And if it's truly not enough, you will naturally go out and seek. You will like seek in the world, I mean. And if it's too much, you will naturally stop investing in something. If I have enough money, I'm probably not super concerned about money and I stop investing, so heavily, I mean, in like this company, that business. I stop, I cut off my hours a little bit, or I'm not as overly, busy bee at work trying to, make sure I don't get fired or something. Like, you know what I mean? Just you kind of let off the pedal when you have an abundance. So when you don't have enough, I mean, naturally that pedal through the survival instinct of the self, it knows it needs to kind of, bring it up a little bit. So I'm simply saying everything is so fucking obvious all of the time. The last thing we need is to further complicate our lives with the investment upon why do I got to do this thing to feel this way. Trying to mathematically conclude life in a very logically chop and diced black and white way. Like if you're feeling a way, be grateful you can really fucking feel that way. Think also, you're probably the only one that really feels that emotion in those ways, that thinks that thought in those ways, that has this really unique life reflection, whether it be a narrative or a vision, like a mental movie in terms of how things play out. Life is literally your life. It's a unique expression. Don't deharmonize it. Don't water it down. Don't try to flood the gates. Like, look at your health and well-being. You're naturally designed for optimacy from the get-go. When you not like look at you're naturally a baby, like a fetus and fucking pretty much a seed, effectively. From the start, you're naturally growing and emanating and glowing and potentializing as we go. Even as you grow old and your cells are, you know, they don't replicate as much, and um, your telomeres get shorter, meaning like the way things regenerate it takes a lot more to do so. Like even then, when you look at the existentialist way of seeing things, you're still evolving. Your mentality changes, general perspective upon everything, and how you feel about it all. Like the synesthetic representation of how we sense reality and our experience changes. So evolution is not like the fact of what evolution means and how we wish actually to see change and intensity mixed with that with a bit of grace all the time. That is ultimately like our three desires, I would say. Like how that mixes itself up and changes in life all the time is absolutely beautiful. And the thing we want most all the time is truth, but we want it in the way of it being a surprise. And this is something that we seem to close one eye to all the time. Like, if I want to hang out with someone, chances are I don't want to hang out with them because I know exactly what they're going to behave like. Or if I go to this party tonight, I'm going to go because I know exactly how the party's going to go. If I play this game, I want to play it because I know exactly what the end result's going to be and how everybody's going to work together, blah, 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 blah. I know exactly how my avatar is going to move. Like, no, you're engaged with it playfully because you don't know what's going to happen, and you're excited to see how it does unfold, how it does behave, how it does enact, how it does self-engage. The surprise is the ultimate orgasm, like it keeps you in suspense, which is, I don't want to say eternal, but like an emphatically kind of extended orgasm. Like if I'm in suspense all the time and I don't know what's going to happen, I'm constantly excited. So I'm constantly kind of on that edge of like, not really coming, not really arriving. And at the same time, I'm always on the pursuit. Like I'm always kind of almost there. Like that is like the best life notable possible. And we're always living that all the time, and we're blindfolding that with suspicions and just kind of being suspect to like, well, like we're living in a superstitious way of like, well, maybe if I do this thing, then that'll be like the life, you know. I be with this person, then I'll have like the person of like the universe to be with. And that we're failing to see along these ways is that we're always changing. So the circumstances and whatever that can possibly manifest as a human being, as a car, a house, a general sway of how our life is just happening and how the experiences are kind of placing themselves in. Almost subsequently, like in a linear order. Like how any of it all happens is changing all of the time. So how, since we're changing all the time, how would we ever desire a static representation of what our ultimate aim would be? It doesn't exist. So I really do implore, beyond all conditions, all set parameters and destinations and aims and directives and objective intentions and so forth. Like, how would I live if nothing was like a fence line to like conditionality of my life? Like if it wasn't a deciding factor that just like bordered upon me like this presumption that since this is the case, I live this way. I have so much money, so I can only fly so high. I can only achieve so many. I can only get so many things. Like once these are not the questions, once these are not important or really consequential in the deepest essence and the deepest ways of our being, what really means most to me. And you'll find it's actually nothing. None of those things, nothing, anything otherwise. It's how I arrive, how I show up, how I choose to express that. Because there's a constant tension in the self, and it's just like a constant, I don't want to say frustration, but a constant like if you look at things looking for a solution, then yeah, you will get that sense of like I need to quell the scratch, right? Like I need to itch it, or that tickle. I need to like rub it off and neutralize it. You know what I mean? Like I need to like water down the sensation. No, you're naturally overflowing. Just simply be thankful for the fact, and realize that that's actually working for you. It's the very thing that optimizes, your cell capacity, your mental sharpness. How much light you let in your eyes, how high how high and deep your voice can go. Your athletic performance. Like everything about you, it's heightening you because it's deepening that cell capacity in every evolutionary way. So why not be thankful? Because a lot of it, that is actually the problem, is a lot of us are asking why and why not. Sorry, not why not. Why is this happening to me? Why wouldn't it be? Like either way you look at it, like there's just as much either reason or no reason, you know? Because we can come up for logic for anything, but there really is no needed reason just simply to exist, to be as you are, to express as I do. It's already all going on. Why aren't we thankful? Why aren't we grateful? Why aren't we appreciating that this is the fact of the matter? And only then you're ever going to embrace what that is, whatever it means in those moments. Because as long as you're not appreciating, you're not grateful for it, you will actually, in some weird way, kind of hate it. You have like a resentment and seek something to replace it. If I don't see the special qualities in which I bring to life, I will try to find something else that does bring a quality to life. And that will always be a kind of deteriorated and ever from my original path delineated offering. Like it veers away from what I really felt and saw as valuable to begin with. It will veer from that. It will delineate its own direction because it's not us in the truest and most honorable sense. So a lot of this addictive tendencies, a lot of these addictive ways of behaving come from the question of why, you know. Because like I like reverse engineering things because one, not a lot of us, not enough of us do it, and it really gets to the fact of the matter much more concisely. Like why am I not enough? You know, instead of something like what could make me more, what could make me better. You know what I mean? Like we don't look at things like why am I even concerned with that? Because then like why am I not free of that concern to begin with, right? To bring that why not back, and it comes from insecurity. And like if you're invested in your insecurity, no amount of you attaining this, believing that, and by believing I just mean assuming and concretizing some kind of assumption, um, and crystallizing a fantasy ultimately. Um, Investing in what is not serving the authentic emanation of self and whatever your life can show up as through that is not going to lead you anywhere healthy. It's not going to lead you anywhere that you're really proud of or really resonate with in a jubilant and gleefully reflective way. You're inevitably going to look back and go, why the fuck did I do all of that? Why did I look at things this way? And in some way, you'll know along the way. It's like, well, because of these circumstances, and this person said that, and I got treated like this, and my job went this way, my job went downhill or something, and then I made these decisions. I got involved with a gang, whatever. Got married to this person. Oh my God, like you know in those ways, logically, analytically, you know why they happen. But in some kind of like creatively intuitive way, you reflect and go, fuck, I could have chosen just about any other fucking way. And it would have, because I invested myself, say if I did, and if I invested myself completely in those ways, no matter how I lived in those ways, it would have been worth it. 100%, zero regret. Not a single letter of that word, right? But if you don't, then there is in a way 100% regret. Because it simply is like my experience is something that is really worth all of me, or it's not worth me. It's not worth me diminishing myself and seeing this thing as the thing up from me, or the next ladder step, the next plateau, heaven beyond me. You know what I mean? Like it's either worth it or it's not. Like if you measure the aim of your life with the total quality of your life, like would I invest my life in this? Not just 5, 10, 15 years, 5 minutes, an hour, you know what I mean? Like half my life, a quarter of my life. Like you simply go, is this worth my life? Is this worth selling my soul, whatever, right? Trading in and exchanging the composition of everything that it means to be me, an expression, you will make decisions so much more easily, because it really comes down to like a yay or a nay, a yes or a no. Like, would this be something I completely invest myself in or not? And that's devotion. And you're either devoted or you're not. Like, does this, like, if I went this way, would I be not just like proud, but would I reflect and go, yep, that was great. That was literally great. I'm glad I did it. Or do you look back and go, fuck, why did I do that? You know, it really is that simple. The hardest thing to make in life is a decision. So the hardest thing to earn in life is the joy and the gratitude and the appreciation that we actually honored that. And the cheapest thing you can afford is anything but that, which is what most people, most human beings seek. So I really do implore, why am I, instead of like even getting on because the question is really the ultimate thing that we're seeking, because it angles us a certain way. It gives us a certain fresh approach or a different way of living, to life. And, because like once you get an answer, then you're like, okay, well then the next question arises anyway. So constantly seek, like, what am I unaware of? Why am I seeking what I'm seeking? Why am I not good as I am? Why am I concerned about this? Like, what's the birthing of my desire? And maybe even my desire to quell the desire, Just get to the core essence of something. And the core essence of something is always medicinal. The total inclusion and involvement and engagement of life is the medicine to begin with. Like, you've never seen someone who is, like, holistically speaking, like the scales of all the, of like their all around health. Like, you don't see someone who is effectively ill or diminished or just not well off in the grand scheme of things, that is totally involved and participant and engaged with life, and mind you, in the enjoyable manner. Because there are people that contribute to society and those around them in the way of, like, it's a task to them. And I don't mean that. I mean, like, are you, like, playfully engaged and involved but totally intense at the same time? Like, you're fully there, you're fully present as, like, a flame of presence, and your full personality, you're fully emotionally available, everything, like, it's all there on the playing field. But you're doing it in a harmoniously willing way. If I'm not this way, why am I not? You know what I mean? Like the truth is always much more of like a why, like, what isn't it? Why isn't it already the matter of the fact? Because that's always what we're seeking. Whether we get the money, we get the drug, we get the thing, the goodie, the whatever, right? What is true about this? What's the essence? What's the integrity? What does it mean to me? How does it change? How does it impact and change my life? What mark does it have on my heart? How does it make my heart dance? Like, how does it make my mind flow? How does it change the course of my interests and my curiosities? What is the intricate truth of it? We want to see what the integrity is of something. Does it really hold up to what I am anticipating it to? So it's never about the thing, the state, the whatever, like, we're always seeking what is somehow, because we think very dualistically because we have a logical mind, right? But, like, what is simultaneously beyond and before it? Like, what is uninvested in the contrast and the context of whatever it is that I seem to be seeking? And therefore, what does it leave left in me as an authentic and honorable and just honest seeking? Like, if nothing was the case circumstantially, how would I be seeking? What would I be seeking? Like, what is in just the essence of things my aim? And if it's not something that is bringing a harmonized and exuberant sense of well-being, why the fuck are we doing it? If we're not interested in the medicine, we're subsequently settling upon an interest for a poison or something that has a poisonous effect on us over time and space, because it is dwindling our way and wellness of being. So if it's not one, it really is the other, at least on this planet, and how things operate mechanically. Remember, if it's not serving you, you are indeed serving it. And I don't mean in a selfish way. I really mean in, like, because it's just like, here, I'll use empaths as an example. There's no one that can go around helping everybody emotionally that's emotionally devoid and vampiricized all the time. Like they're blood dry all the time, but you're going to come and help me? Hilarious. It's a fucking joke. So if it's not for the wellness of all, if it's not for the harmonizing of the sum total way of everything being the way it is and should be organically, question why it is not that way. Because truth is, it's so obvious, it's actually painful to try to striate and look away from it. So what is true in your life? Seek that.